Hello my friends, great to have you here again at Carter on Bike. As you might already know, in this series I'm touring Schleswig-Holstein, the northernmost federal state of Germany. If you have followed this series, you know that so far I've done a bit of the Ox Trail, went along the Kiel Canal and cycled up the North Sea coast. In this episode, I want to take you along on the next stage of the North Sea cycle route from Sankt-Peter-Ording to Husum. Here you can see Sankt-Peter-Ording, which you already know from my previous episode. And there is that amazing sandbank on which you find all those white beaches. And if you turn north a little bit further, and if you strain your eyes, in the distance you may recognize the iconic lighthouse of Westerhever. Now then, getting to Husum, there are two possibilities to go from here. Either you follow the sea dikes and you come past the lighthouse, or you can take an inland route. As during this trip I'm staying in Sankt-Peter-Ording for a few days, let me show you both. First, I will show you the totally windswept cycle route out to the lighthouse. Let's go! Yeah, I'm planning to go out to the lighthouse of Westerhever. Wow, that's a big one. This cycle route basically follows the sea dike. It's full of sheep. The sheep are part of the protection scheme. They don't just keep the grass short, but their hooves compact the soil, which counteracts erosion. Cycling along here is straightforward if it wasn't for the strong wind. Therefore, right now I have chosen to go along the inner side of the dike. But let me tell you, as soon as you come to the crest of the dike, you get blasted with the full power of the wind. Still a long way, I have to go round all the way. As long as it is possible, I stay on the inner side of the dike, even though it's totally mucky with sheep shit. It's kind of like that, you know? There's sheep shit, there's sheep lying in the middle of it. But all in all, I'm really enjoying riding along here. But in the end, there is no mercy and I have to cross over to the totally windswept plain. The lighthouse of Westerhever has been in operation since 1910. It was built on an artificially created mound. And to steady its foundations, 127 oak piles had to be driven deep into the muddy ground. In 1978, the lighthouse was automated and is controlled from a central station. I think that cloud over there, that one, is about to get me again. So I'll go up to that lighthouse and hope to find some shelter there possibly to sit out the burst. After all, it wasn't so bad, just a little shower. Nevertheless, I recommend if you come out here, bring all kinds of weatherproof clothes. And in no time the rain cloud gets blown away again by the strong wind. It's amazing to be out here by the lighthouse and watch the weather change. As I already said, from here you can cycle on towards Husum, but today I have to get back to St. Peter. And as the wind is still blowing strong, I now use the cycle path on the outer side of the sea dike to make the most of the tailwind. I'm telling you, it's like flying. Did you know you can skid on sheep shit? It just happened by that gate, but I didn't fall into it, fortunately. Look, here you can see how a sheep well works. When the sheep presses its nose against it, the water gets turned on and the sheep can drink. Okay, I won't bore you with more sheep for the time being now. Yesterday we've been out to the lighthouse of Westerhever, from where you could have followed the sea dike route further north to a place called Ulvesbøl, where the coast route joins the main route again. Today I'm taking you along the main route all the way from St. Peter to Husum. As you have already seen the first bit of the route, I'll take you straight to the junction now, where the inland route turns off. Here we go, Sankt-Peter-Ording to Husum. The route takes me down some quiet little country lanes. It's real fun riding along here, at least in summer. In Tarting then, the route points me to a cycle lane alongside a busy road, which I don't like. But very soon I can turn off again into the countryside. And just look how beautiful it is out here. Poppies, pink and red ones. When you stand still for a moment, you notice how quiet it is, except for the ever-blowing wind, of course. This cycle route takes us through farmland and sometimes by its farms. Caution, chicken crossing. There it is. Even though I slowed right down here, the poor thing tried to commit suicide. Fortunately, nothing happened. Alright, we are in Garding now. Last time when I was here to catch a train, I just got a glimpse of the high street. I thought this town looked pretty ugly. But here in the back streets you can find some really nice houses. Here I'm just taking a little detour into the old part of Garding. Hey, there's the church. In the town centre, beside some older buildings, you can even find there are some little retail shops left. They don't necessarily look pretty, but it's nice they still exist. And it adds to the somewhat quaint atmosphere of this town. Leaving Garding, we get quickly out into the open countryside again, where occasionally we find pretty farmhouses, some of them surely converted to holiday homes. And then my route turns north. Ooh, it's against the wind again! Fortunately, at the moment it's just for a short stretch before I can turn off again, so the wind just gets me from this side. But eventually the route will take me into a more northern direction again. Kleihörn belongs to Kotzenbüll. That sounds charming. Kotzenbüll proper is over there. Give it a miss with a name like that. Let me explain that name, Kotzenbüll. Kotz in German means vomit. So naturally I wondered and looked it up. Well, in this case, Kotze was the name of a person. Böll comes from the Danish language meaning house or settlement. Therefore, Kotzenbüll simply translates to the house of somebody named Kotze. Still, in German that name sounds very strange indeed. Super strong winds again from diagonally up front. Yeah, as I said before, my route is heading north now and it's getting closer to the coast, where it's merging with the coastal variation coming from the lighthouse. This is quite lovely here. We have a little hut and you can take things there that you don't need any longer, like so, and you can choose something which you want. The village church does look a bit weather-beaten, but then that's not surprising as we are close to the sea. Here we even cross an inner sea protection dike. Yeah, look over there, that's the outer one, which is bigger and higher, and behind there is the North Sea. You can see the houses here are all a little bit higher up. This is not surprising. In the early 18th century they had a bad flood here. In 1861 then they built the new outer dike and thus gained the land which you can see on my left from the sea. I'd say this former holiday home has had it. The final stretch into Husum now is not so pretty. I'm accompanied by traffic, the ever-blowing wind of course, and to my left there are cabbage or turnip fields. What we can see in the distance now is the industrial or the outer harbour of Husum. It is mostly used by the fishing industry or for shipping of agricultural products. At the seaport there is not much for me to see, so I cycle up to the little inland port of Husum, where it is much prettier and also more touristic. Hello my friends, we are in Husum. This is the market square and the little harbour. Used to be fishing and shrimp harbour, I think. There's an industrial harbour behind it. We've cycled past it. Look up there, they say Sankt-Peter-Ording, 45 kilometers. I just checked, I've done 54, so where else have I been? That building behind that clock there, that's the shipping museum. So if you're here for a little bit longer, it might be interesting to have a look in there. And even when you're here just for a short visit, you can inform yourself of the importance of coastal protection. This place had bad storm surges in the past, causing the loss of land and many lives. Look, this marker here shows how high the water had risen to, even not so very long ago. But I'm going to find the station now to go back to Sankt-Peter-Ording. Apart from the cute centre, my impression is that Husum does look rather practical. But then what doesn't? Okay, let's find track number 3.
Bahnsteig, Gleis 1 und 3.
The last time I was here, I was completely soaked wet, but you will see that in the next episode. How do I know I got wet, you may ask yourself? Well, if you have watched the previous episodes, you'll know by now that I haven't cycled the tours of my Schleswig-Holstein Tour series in a geographical order, but cycled them in sections, sometimes here, sometimes there. In the following episode, I will cover the section between here and Nibel, which I cycled a couple of months earlier. In fact, I did it north to south, but that's a different story. Find out why and come along. I promise you not just another wind and water story, but also great northern landscapes.
Nächste Station, the next station is Bad St. Peter Süd.
For now, thank you for watching and hope I see you soon. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a like and, if you want, also subscribe to my channel. As always, thanks for watching. See you soon.